Hello, YouTubers. Please see my live stream videos. In the predicate acts, I noted, as one of the people who was in the court next to the World Trade Center, who also can show hyper-evidentially recorded all sides in criminal and civil cases, including in the Ninth Circuit Court next to the World Trade Center attack towers, had roles with that through other people. Like, for example, roles influence to pretend it's personal when I say that. These are people that have roles with uses of all sides in criminal and civil cases in the interbranch names. Like with that case, it's reportedly proven that there was post-dated, they had post-dated legal papers that had been handed into the Ninth Circuit Court on time and presented to the, presented to the Ninth Circuit panel of judges on the World Trade Center attack day, in that court next to the World Trade Center. They had been post-dated from inside the court. That had been proven, and then that led up to a court in Connecticut, a district court, which is involved with other courts who are involved with predicate acts of facts also between each of the campuses and interstates and internationally. It's also relative to this. There's a certain type of victim/victim predator that a breaching method before modern religion's messengers were even born. They were pushed into defending the law syntactically and then defending that. With the only way they could get away with that as victims/hyper-victims is by the way that would push them into that, showed them to. And we can observe this. For example, with readings of historical, truths. This is a programming method too that shows how truths can be used for lies and where are. And syntax styles are manifest where names A through Z have been assigned. Use /s as systems individually grouped and together. Tactical ulterior from how nature employed names in differences to be valued by us as fact treatment nature, syntax nature, and where and how actually, why. This is about sequence/simultaneous nature. The Trinity, for example. This is about what took the sciences and therefore their names to voices, to uses of all positive or negatives as collusion/s with the predicate acts with facts method that we all see, monitor, counter. Everyone says, oh, I don't have the power. Or everyone tries to take power as a group. Even grouping, even all nations, even if everyone agrees together. If it's agreement to ignore how we are and have been, systems tactical ulterior from its own. Like, for example, with time. Nature shows us to appreciate the 5 distinct parts of time's complete body and how it shows us. And this shows us also the difference between criminal insidiousness nature of positive and negative, or criminally foreign influence. You don't even have to be a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. We could discern that with its involvements with that which was entrenched in North America and in South America before it was America, northern colonies and southern colonies. Roles that had also been entrenched with those names involved with it, and uses of the truths that were and are still being used to hide the hyper-foreign and the hyper-evidential simultaneously, which brings up how with the relativity of why and how we have to even speak about such things. What they do on the mass scale, this breaching method shows them to keep having everyone jump into other people's conversations and pretend courts could figure things out. But we know originally and still, the difference between their roles, completely criminally foreign influence, not wanting to be, but exceptions are made. Black pupils. In other words, this breaching method knew that they would pretend that integrity spoke for the law. That there is appearances of unabridgments. See, they're pretending that James Madison means other, and they're self-valuing in defenses of themselves of that. How they don't know and how other replaced for what James Madison and our founders communicated about how and why they developed a plan to counter, extort, and force other founders to be. And then everyone would have no way to help themselves because the laws are so crazy against everyone. So they would have to rely increasingly upon our founders' plan. And then as the face of James Madison, they went and got George Washington to agree to use that plan. And so also New York, Connecticut, and Washington, and Pennsylvania had and has hyper-evidentially recorded collusion/S with the World Trade Center attack. Right in ways perfectly that can be showed where and how forgiveness is important, where blame is needed to be associated with acts, and with nature, see criminal insidiousness. See nature as a word to show us. Positive is identity relationship to it, positive and negative simultaneously, but also by that hyper-native system way. That also shows us the increasing value of Native Americans and the difference between president/chief. So to appreciate how this, we have to appreciate how this breaching method employed difference/S to be used. It made Native Americans fight with Native Americans before America's founders were even born. And Native Americans are one of our founders, behind and as the value of James Madison too. Because then that's one. The Native Americans are one portion of our founders. Another portion, but see, there was a breaching method entrenched. A hyperforeign, even grouped countries had roles and identities and agreements that were collusion/S with what is simultaneously value, /hyper simultaneous. This is what nature shows. Vaccines. I teach those things belong. The human species body of individual bodies. See, the things be known. WFSB is also being recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed their influence to pretend passions and emotions for the place. Why? Because they have roles with intelligence on off their place, on off WFSB, on off Fox Connecticut News, on off WTNH. Like the roles attaching me to fake conversations with themselves and with others, trying to film fake exceptions. Has something to do increasingly with people from that were sticking predicate acts, roles, not realizing at our campuses. And then people are going to say, oh, I know that person, people that we never had conversations with. And they're like, the investigations investigated in the courts, the roles are timed with overt criminal enterprises, private ones. And so everyone's trying to fish, because there's all kinds of in other words, and everyone's family members, even their family members involved with wire crime, switching names. Forgiveness is because they're needing to pretend that when we have to explain this, because they've been putting us in fake transcripts, the police forms, in the police departments, and their motivations actual. They already had roles since founding with all sides in criminal and civil cases in themselves, all styles of like sequence shift self-value, not realizing being used remotely as collusion/S at all locations/S. I tell it best, vaccines on off the Connecticut State Corrections Offices and on off State Connecticut Judicial Branch Offices. There are a whole bunch of people, two speech class teachers I had in high school who I never had a personal conversation with. who have roles with people that have been planting evidence on all sides of my house with a police, with intelligence community families, timed collusion with overt criminal enterprises, private ones. A Thomas Dillon, a Kevin Dillon, Anna Dillon. So then they try to, this is a whole bunch of foreign countries, and they do whatever to make people have to describe things using other people's names, leaving out their roles with foreign, like Korea, with the O'Briens involved, and so in past wire crimes and planting evidences with police and courts and federal criminals and overt criminal enterprise. Even the witness protection program is involved, and the election locations and the counters to such that are only being roles with the shell games forcing that quality of fact sheet nature as criminal insidiousness nature / hyper-criminal insidiousness nature. I am not a lawyer. Watch, as I know, and I put links to it in some of my YouTube videos about judging freedom with Judge Napolitano and some of his sources like Colonel Douglas McGregor, Scott Ritter, different intelligence experts, but no two simultaneously. We're supposed to be led by a hyper-invisible but still discernible. And if we do this, we can discern, actually hyper-evidentially recorded, conscious use / S of the differences of experts, where the lead into every science is used to hide what all locations / S are being and haven't been used for. Where and how it is recorded, there is a predicate acts with facts delivery system method / S that is also relative to and how computers work. And since before computers, before America's founders were born, the republics for which we stand have been forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded to be syntactically self-valued as systems tactilitarian from the one that nature revealed, where they were following nature's identity, its identity in relationship to itself, and the value of that before the sciences became purely foreign influence in semi-ancient times, that referred to as ancient times now. I'm saying semi-ancient because we're going to observe how 3 ways time is bounded and 5 ways simultaneously by the same hyper-simultaneous identity of relativity. Vaccine.